Ladies and gentlemen, welcome straight to it. We're not even going to cut to the chase with any timers or anything. Straight into it tonight. The topic is the art of failure. We are always late, always on time, but always late and always happening. I really should mute my phone during these things. We have some interesting things to talk about tonight. Obviously, I've launched straight into this without any preparation whatsoever. So we're going to change things up a little bit tonight with that. The art of failure is something that's very close to my heart as someone who has failed time and time and time and time again. And through the failing process have learned along the way. I hope that my darling wife will call in and have a chat about some of the growth mindset stuff that she teaches through school. We do have a couple of emails that have come in. No voicemails, no Karen this week. So I'm very disappointed by that. But let's have a look at some of the Gmails. Again, no preparation. The idea is to get in straight, smart, switched on and having this conversation. Love to read your comments in the comments below, talking about what it is to fail and what you have failed in and what you've learned through the process. I personally have a huge passion for failing. I think failing is probably one of the most important things we can learn to do as humans. It's how gracefully you fail, how well you can fail that dictates probably the most interesting of conversations and interesting stories and interesting learning experiences. That number, if you do want to join tonight, 02 8002 175 is live right now. I know, because I tested this all beforehand instead of testing right at the last minute of it. Some of the failures that you may have noticed is this whole there's a great reactions line early in the piece that completely failed because I was only going to one streaming location instead of going to my personal page, to my reactions line page, which I hope we'll see who comes through on what channel, through YouTube and Twitch all at the same time. I was only going through one. Oh, look, there's a red mark on my head. Only going through one particular page, and it got like 2 viewers, which was absolutely terrible. And I could see there's quite a few more than that live watching right now. If you have any great stories on how you fail and how the best part of that is, make sure you do send those messages through right now. You can email if you'd like to. You can also call through and have a conversation about that. But I'd like to have a huge shout out to Lauren Davies, who's now over in wonderful South Africa, who sent an email a few days ago once they saw the teaser, saying that she loves the Google X model where they incentivize failure. I can't speak tonight. It's a long story. Where they incentivize failure. They reward staff for proving their ideas won't work rather than proving that it will. I think the principle is that you can save a lot of time and money by failing fast and also set up an environment that fosters creativity, because it's okay if an idea doesn't work out. Hell, reactions line is just an idea. And I'd rather it had failed, weeks ago than actually getting the response that it has now, because it means that now I've actually got to do the whole damn thing. I kid. If you'd like to call in that number, 02 8002 1759. If you'd like to click on any of the other things. If you actually are thinking the quality's not that great, head over to YouTube. Links are in the description where you can actually watch in glorious 60 frames a second. And that is probably another reactions line topic about video, but we won't go into that. But I can tell you now, it is gloriously smooth over on YouTube. All right, so that's all happened. We've talked about what it is to fail, and I have failed many times. I even failed tonight, and Thomas Holsworth has sent through a wonderful little thing where he's got a notification from YouTube saying, watch Coriander, like or dislike. I forgot to change the topic on YouTube before going live. There you go. There's a failure. I'll have to add that to my pre-show tech checklist. That's a difficult thing to say of 8:15 on a Tuesday evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to hear how you have failed. As I said before, we've got the Google X model where you fail fast, saves a lot of time and money trying to make something work when you may not be able to make it work. What you got to do is jump on, make some comments on there, and I will happily add them into the show. Yeah, I did check it. I'm just making sure I've gone through the checklist. Had a massive fail the other night on what was a beta test of Drive Time, Chat Time, in which I talk in the car while driving. Several things happened and ended up resulting in one of our cats hearing my voice,
Hello?
jumping up on the camera, on the thing and hanging up the call. Hello?
Hello. I just thought I'd weigh in on the art of failure stuff.
Yep.
Sorry, was I interrupting anything?
No, I was just talking rubbish as I always do.
I think that it is definitely a thing to fail well and to learn from our failures, and that's something that as a teacher of young children we actively encourage a growth mindset, which is getting children to be resilient in the face of failure and learn from their mistakes and move forward. They talk about this thing called the dip, which is, when you're finding something really challenging, you've got the sort of option to, sort of go down on a sliding scale and feel depressed about it and go, oh, well, forget this. Or you've got the option to climb back up out of that, gorge, I suppose, and climb back up to the top and be better than you were before and learn from your mistakes to become, take on that constructive feedback and be better than you ever were.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the things that failure is such a bandaged around term, particularly in the workforce. If you fail, you're reprimanded as such for failing, which is not necessarily the way we move forward. By failing, we've found a weakness. The hacker mentality, if you found a weakness in something, then you've kind of got through, and that's the goal, is how to make something fail. And it's great to hear that, the next generation that's coming up that you're teaching. What year are you teaching again? Like year one?
Year one.
Yeah. So, they're being taught how to fail fast, and they're being taught to, okay, cut loose, let's go on to something else, or dig right in to actually, learn how to make it even better.
Well, yeah, the idea is that failure is not the end game. It's not like this one task, you failed, that's it.
Yep.
The idea is, you may have failed at this particular task, but, if you keep working at it, you will eventually learn from that and, grow and continue on. And,
And failure shouldn't be like an end point to anything. It should be
that's right.
A signpost to go a different way or, give up.
Yeah, springboard for the next challenge kind of thing.
Interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much, Elle. Appreciate you calling in as always, every week.
All righty. Not every week, but many weeks.
Most weeks. Yeah, exactly.
Got to get the ball rolling.
Exactly. Thank you, darling. Appreciate it as always.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
It's weird talking to Elle on this because it's just, we talk very naturally. Anyway, I'd like to hear what else everyone else is out there. I can see that there are a whole heap of people who have joined in. If you are watching now, if you want to call in 02-8002-1759, you can also comment in the description below, make your comment on what it is to fail. And we've just heard a little bit about Google X's whole thing about failing fast and getting out of there. We've heard about, the growth mindset where failure is not a dead end in the road, where you can, as Elle said, use it as a springboard to move into another whole way of thinking and find a different solution, a creative solution in another way. And I've just had a couple of messages come through. Body failure, completely out of your control. That's a story which I would love you to call in and talk about. But things do fail, and I guess my whole life has been built on learning how to fail. A lot of the things that I've done in life have been complete and utter failures. Heading off in one direction to do one thing, going, well, that doesn't work, and moving on to something else. And finding, for me, technology is my favorite thing to make fail, because I learn interesting ways of using technology that I would not have thought about using in any other way. I mean, there's a multitude of technologies used on this show, which I keep talking about the whole time, which, there have been failures. If you look at where we started quality-wise with the video, it was okay. Then I got this new camera and it turned to crap because I had no control over it. And so learning that failure and then going, well, hang on a second, I know I can make this work better. How do I fail in order to learn, and how to learn this? And now we have obviously a much nicer image than we've had before. But that's only through failing and actually going through that process that way. I can see a lot of people watching, but not a lot of people commenting. If you'd like to actually comment, just simply type in the Facebook chat there. I will see it come up and we'll add it into the show. But yeah, failure is a wonderful thing. God, how many times have I said failure? I should re-edit this and put a dinging, flashing number every single time I say failure. Is that someone on the line? Nope. So I have no indicator of when someone is on the line or not. It's all literally all live all the time. Don't forget, if you'd like to head over to YouTube to watch this in glorious 720p 60 in stereo. Yes, we do come in stereo. You can do that as well. Or you can simply type your comment in below, talk about how you've failed and what things you've learned through that process. And what's the best way you've found to fail? How do you fail gracefully? People are asking if they should call in. Please, yes, call in. I would love it if you called in to talk about things that you have failed with. I've already been through, if you've just joined, I've already been through a few things because I hit it quick off the bat tonight. Very different to every other show where we've kind of waited 4 or 5 minutes while we get it going and lose people. We're talking about how you fail and how people fail fast. One of the greatest things that again, recapping for those of you who have just joined Google X's model of failing fast, you have the actual way in which you fail is so important as well. So for you to go through and go, look, I've made a mistake, and being open and honest about that, that's one of the most difficult things I've found to do over the last 30 odd years is how to go, I failed. I'm really sorry. It's not what I intended to do, but it's happened, and that's a really sad thing. How do we move beyond that? And I think that's one thing that I was talking before about. It's current practice within teaching to get the kids to use it as a growth mindset and to springboard from their ideas, from failing and something else. Hello. No?
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Sam?
Yeah.
Failure.
Hi. Yes. How can I help you with that? No.
What?
I've got too many to count.
Too many to count. What have you? What's your biggest failure of your own doing or not own doing, and what have you learned the most from it?
I think my biggest failure, not on my own doing, but on my own doing, is as I mentioned before to you, body failing. I think learning from that, going from that whole transformation change. We're doing bodybuilding competitions and then being ripped out of your control, and having to learn from that failure is really, really big.
Sorry, to telegraph on that for a second, you said you had it ripped out of your control, as in the failure or which part?
My body failing. Sorry, I should clarify.
Okay.
I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. So it wasn't like, I tore a muscle or anything. This was a life-changing thing. So I've got type 1 diabetes, which for those at home is insulin-dependent diabetes. It's the one where your body, for whatever reason, decides to attack the pancreas and shut it down. It's not through lifestyle. It's not through any other factors. So I got diagnosed at 27 after making a massive change in my life and doing bodybuilding competitions, and then having that, that whole mindset of going from, overweight, then changing your lifestyle to being, really fit and healthy, and then getting ripped away from you and your doctor telling you, sorry, you can't exercise for at least 6 months to a year until we have your body back to normal and sorted out, in a sense. Yeah, that failure, I don't know if you really call it, don't know if you can call it a failure in a sense of, it's not of your own doing, but having to relearn from that and relearn to respect your body and what it's going through. I think that was a massive, massive learning curve, because I now no longer crave that sort of ripped lifestyle. I really do not give a toss. And, and good on people who love it. But you know what? There is so much more to live for than just, looking lean and, fabulous all the time, because you don't have a life.
And I think the other thing that's, and I mean, we've talked off air quite extensively about this, the one thing that you've learned, and I mean, the art of your failure in your body failing is that you were doing bodybuilding. So you were counting carbs, you were counting everything you were putting into your body, and you kind of could estimate what was going on in as your ingest. And now with type 1 diabetes, you have to know what you're ingesting to kind of counterbalance out that insulin. Exactly. So that's a wonderful way of failing. Not only have you failed, but you've failed in such a way that it's actually equipped you to deal with the failure itself.
Oh, you put it so nicely.
Well, it is. It is. That's the way it is. I think that's absolutely remarkable. Did I hear someone else come on as well?
Hello?
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 Ooh.
Sorry, there may be a slight echo. Who have we got? Is it just Sam?
No, it's Francesca.
Oh, Francesca, hello.
Hi, I thought I'd join you because I've just been observing all the great work that you're doing. And
Oh,
I thought
thank
I'd
you so
give a
much.
Call and say, without failure, without getting to the depths of despair, you can't realise where to go to moving forward.
That's exactly right.
So
And
you
that-
have to hit rock bottom to be able to move forward. So I just thought I'd reach out and say hi and say, look, I think what you're doing is fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Francesca. I do appreciate that, and I hope everything's going well up there on the beaches. And as a small business owner, you would have seen a lot of hit the wall moments with failure and go, oh, what am I doing wrong? How do I shift and change and move with the marketplace?
I constantly fuck up.
Yep.
But it makes me better for who I am. But I love this technology, and I want you to talk to me about it tomorrow.
All right, we'll take it offline and have that conversation tomorrow. But wonderful to hear from you.
No, absolutely. So keep up your great. This is awesome. I love it.
Excellent.
I've been watching it. So yeah, but without hitting rock bottom then realizing where you need to be, no one grows.
That's
so
exactly
you need
right.
to always have bad times to see the good times, and without good, you can't have bad. Without bad, you can't have good.
Yeah,
so that's my life.
Yeah, I completely agree. There was a guy who I grew up with who always used to say that the sweet isn't as sweet without the bitter, which is rather ironic with the type 1 diabetes that Sam was just discussing before.
Yeah, which is, Patrick, I'm sitting here with Patrick, and his brother had diabetes, and so it's a huge thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Francesca. Talk to you soon.
I just thought I'd touch base. See ya. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
I'm guessing Sam's still on the line? No.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, thought I was on my own for a second. I'm like, here we go. Back to my own and talking to myself again in a green lit room.
But you're very good at talking to yourself, Adrian. You've
Oh
established
God, all the time. This is my natural outlet to let all the voices come out of my head all at once. But I mean
that's a good way of looking at it.
yeah. But I think that Francesca really hit the topic on the nose there. If you don't, it's a side topic as well. But if you don't kind of fail to the point where you've hit the bottom, you can't really grow up and move beyond that and grow beyond what you've experienced so far. And I think that's really fascinating. I mean, if I can be so bold as to say, Sam, seeing where you're at now with your life compared to where you've come through, the trials and tribulations you've gone through. I mean, I would never have seen many people bounce back in the way you have. From this sense of adversity and as you said, type 1 diabetes, but maybe that's part of what the failing's done. It's equipped you to deal with that. I think that's really remarkable.
It makes you, honestly, as Francesca was saying, it makes you appreciate what you have so much more.
Completely.
So much more. Despite what's happened to me, I've got a beautiful daughter who, I thank every day. Was as healthy, as happy, and hopefully she won't have what I have, but she's been brought into this world and she's amazing, and I'm so thankful that my body, through its failure, was still able to cope with it.
Yeah, and I think that's also shows the human spirit to be able to break through these times of adversity and get on with it. And I mean If I'm to go out on a slight limit at the moment, we are much stronger than what we give ourselves credit for, and we kind of get caught up in these little things that bring our emotional center down. But we are amazing beings to be able to get through this. And I have a cat that just is wanting to be on camera for some reason, which is hilarious. This is a new cat, and she's very vocal. Sorry, that's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about the art of failure, not the fear of failure. That's a whole different topic.
But is her art of failing the fact that she wants to meow all the time and therefore get your attention?
Possibly. But maybe she's not failing at all. Maybe she's just winning at life, But then again, we all can't be, oh, God, what was the guy's name? Winning. Everyone.
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. We all can't be Charlie Sheen and win at life all the time. Unbelievable.
Millions of dollars.
And have millions. Could be. Oh, there you go. There goes another cat. Yeah, so I really should block out the cats when I go to do live streaming, I think.
No, that's cute. I'll go, but that was my art of failing story. So
Well,
thank you
Well, thank you for sharing, Sam. I do appreciate it as always.
All right.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting things to be kind of summed up from those two calls from both Sam and Francesca. Both wonderful people to hear from as well. You know, that without failing, we don't grow and we kind of get stuck in this thing. And it's so glad to see that supported now in the education department. And that's something that I'm really happy to see. I really hope that we see people... sorry, I'm reading a comment. I hope we see, companies and industry start to embrace that failure. And I mean, Lauren Davies at the start of the show sent through an email talking about Google X's model, where as people are in this part of this new groundwork that they're doing, being able to, what did she say again? Google X model where they incentivize failure. So they actually encourage people to fail, because if they fail fast, then they're saving time and money, and they foster creativity. So it's like fail fast, move on. Okay, push it as quickly as we can. Okay, we failed. Don't forget about it. Move on. So they actually reward people and their staff for proving their ideas won't work, which is brilliant. So poking holes in it, as I like to do with technology, is poke holes in things until it breaks and then kind of back it off and work out how to fix those breaks. We did have my darling wife earlier in the show, and she also has jumped in now with fart ailing. If you didn't see the teaser for this show, I had a lot of fun making that and showing a whole series of failures, which were completely and utterly staged. And look, click back on the Reactions Line Facebook page to have a look at that one, which is fantastic. Relationship failure, the most painful but the most ultimate worthwhile experience. That hits really home hard to a lot of us, and particularly me, if you heard that my grammar just got completely messed up. I've had a number of interesting relationships, and they've all failed up until this point, with spectacular results. And I've learned a lot, not about the other person in the relationship, but a lot about my friends, and particularly a lot about who I am as a person and how that works. But without those failures, I wouldn't be who I am today, and damn it, now I'm going to get emotional on the show, which I did not anticipate happening. Elle and I recently rewatched our wedding video, and I found it was absolutely fascinating. We wrote around ovals, and one of the things that I had in there, which I think was particularly interesting, is that I knew Elle was the right person because she brought me to be who I am, and brought the sense of who I am back. Hence why I'm doing this show. I don't believe if it was for Elle bringing me back to a sense of normality, that I would have been able to embrace my creativity again. There was a lot of stuff that's very deep in that, but without that relationship, the previous relationship failures, I wouldn't have known what it was like to lose a sense of self. And I think that's pretty important as well. Relationship failures allow us to grow emotionally as beings, and learn what we like and what we don't like. And I guess that maps our way through life. Wow, that was really deep and unexpected, unlike my usual chirpy comments to that. I'd love to hear what else you have to say about your failures as well. You can call that number 02 8002 1759. You can also email if you want to, reactionsline@gmail.com. I don't know what we're talking about next week, so you can also send that through as well. You can simply comment in this stream as well, and throw some shade or some light onto the things that have. I can see a whole heap of people are liking the stream at the moment. I really appreciate you for doing that. Thank you so much. If you do have a second and you'd like to see this in full glory 720p 60, which I was just talking about before, head over to the YouTube link in there. I'd love to get that up to 100 users so I can change it away from youtube.com/channel/UCR9AEO, whatever it is, to actually just Reactions Line, which would be brilliant, and then start pushing it on there as well. This is interactive, this whole show. The whole thing is for you guys to throw in some things as well. Again, call in if you want, 02 8002 1759. Hit the email at reactionsline@gmail.com, or simply just comment on the Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch stream. And I hear someone is on the line. Hello!
Hi there. I suppose I could weigh in.
Mr. Thomas, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
Very well. Art of failure.
Yes. I usually when I call in, I throw up some fun statistics. Failed to find anything too fun.
Yes, finally, the art of failure itself.
All right.
Yep.
The top ranked funny websites on the internet. Number one is English.com. Are you familiar with that one?
I am. That is where we look at the Asian failings, or not just Asian failings, but international failings on the English language.
The great misuse of Google Translator. Number 5 is failblog.com.
Okay.
Or was it .org? But Failblog, are you familiar with that one?
No.
It's part of the Cheeseburger Network, if you're familiar with that one, but it's basically just great big lists of pictures of people failing. And they actually went out into the video space and created very successful YouTube channels, riding on the back of a lot of people posting compilations of their pictures on YouTube and getting a lot of views out of those. So now they have their own YouTube network as well, and you can
That's fantastic.
Oh, look, endless hours of entertainment just typing fail into YouTube and letting it go.
I am actually going to change over to the wonderful screen capture here. Let's take here we go. Failblog. So 48 dad quotes that'll make you instantly facepalm. My dad told me he accidentally swallowed some Scrabble piece and that he wasn't looking forward to his next vowel movement. Oh. That's right up my alley. Okay, so that's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Obviously, there's a lot of clickbait in that particular thing. But okay, Failblog's up there. Yep.
It's real art made out of failure, isn't it? You know, it's really an art.
I didn't even realise. So meta. So meta. Failure and art as one. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I thought I'd talk a bit about the whole teaching model as well, because I once encountered a company trainer who had a mantra, trauma is the best teacher. What do you think of that, Adrian?
Well, I mean, trauma is probably one of the most, has the highest efficacy of any teaching methodology because it just works. But at the same point, you've got to balance out what is actually sorry, I've got to move away from that website. It really, is the stress worth it? You know, you've got to balance that out. Is the education and the learning that you're going to get from this worth the stress? And that's, I guess, the balance point that you need to work out. But yeah, trauma definitely works. Yeah. It's very effective.
Yeah, I really disagree with that statement.
Oh, really?
Not your statement there, of course. I think you're sort of working your way around it well. But yeah, the statement that trauma is the best teacher. Look, yeah, it's probably a very effective feature, but in terms of the best, you know.
Oh no, sorry.
The best way to solve a problem and the quickest, most brutal way to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Traumatizing someone. Yeah.
Is it doing it so that you don't even notice that anyone's done any work at all, or is it doing it with a sledgehammer and it's done?
That's it.
And you've got a big mess to clean up.
I don't recall the studies themselves, but there have been studies done certainly on. Actually, I think the source for this is looking up really brutal teaching methods. I think that was actually it.
Ooh.
And there was just a study done where a group of children, it was a very controversial study, some of them were basically, there was a whole thing of, people with different coloured eyes were told they were just intrinsically good or bad, and then they'd flip it over the next day and see how well they were able to learn just by being put in a bad place in the first place. And another model was just sort of looking at the idea of either reinforcing good behaviour or demeaning bad behaviour, and which of those was more effective. And across all of those studies, absolutely reinforcing the good behaviour was so much more effective and led to improved learning results.
There you go.
When people's failures weren't focused on so much.
Okay, well, that's interesting because, and that kind of makes sense. If you think about this show, if I was to focus on the failures of the presentation that I do, and trust me, I am known to stutter and I am known to trip over my own words. But if I don't just push through that, I'd get stuck. I would be absolutely 100% stuck on a particular phrase, the way I've said it. I guess this, again, I use this show as kind of my own therapy, if you will, to manage that and to make sure that I'm able to push on and move forward through that.
Do you know anyone who has a speech impediment that manifests in the form of a stutter?
I know a few people,
I don't know if that's and I don't know if you've noticed that confidence has a lot to do with it.
Completely.
Social situations, confidence is a big thing, and I think that's just sort of like a little mini biome that you can look at the same idea, and that when a person's confident, that they don't mind the stutter, they can move past it a bit more quickly, even if it's sort of a tick and it's not a thing that they can help. But they'll really get stuck on it when faced with a new social situation.
Oh, completely.
Don't know if that person's going to be so accepting, or how that's going to be taken, and I guess learning to fail elegantly, especially in the face of others when they're watching you. You know, you can fail in private all you like, and if no one knows, then it's all pure learning, right?
Yeah, exactly. Interesting comment that's just come in that you might be interested in. Dan Wiggins has said the stimulation of the amygdala, which is the primal part of our brain that kind of gives that fight or flight stimulation, which he says here is a source of fear and stress, i.e. pain, in neurology, has been shown to better learning and retention of information. Just touch on the trauma point before. There you go. The amygdala's I've got a lot more functions than that. But yeah, there you go. Stimulation of the amygdala, which causes us to go animal, which gets all our wonderful hormones and stuff flowing. Obviously gets us to focus more.
Yeah, very quickly develops those pathways. I was going to lead into that to another statement that I agree with a lot more, which isn't so tied to it, but it's the idea that a good leader doesn't create followers; they create other leaders.
Yeah.
And that sort of breeds the whole idea, and that a leader can learn more from people who are on the same level as them, if they're not just there to put people in line, and to instead raise others up to their own level so that they can realise what each other are doing and bouncing those ideas off each other.
Yeah.
You can fail and you can be more aware of it, because one of the big things there is, of course, you can act in a way in work or otherwise it probably might not be the best way to do something.
Yep.
And others can basically help to make you aware of that so that you can improve, because being aware of your own failures, which you touched on earlier, which sort of inspired me to call about that, is a really big thing. It's important to know where you're not the best that you can be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've got an interesting image up on the screen at the moment which talks about great leaders. They inspire people to grow, and bad leaders, they don't care about people's growth. And I think the other thing as well, you know, leadership's a particularly interesting thing from a failure point of view. You know, if you have a leader who stands beside you and goes, hey, we're going to go and do this task and we're going to do it together, fantastic. You know, we're both going to fail equally. Whereas someone who kind of says, hey, go and do this thing. Oh, you failed. How did you fail? Why did you fail? And it's like, hang on a second. You have no idea what I'm doing. You know, let's come and have a look at, stand with me and do this together. And a good leader doesn't have to stand with you the whole time. They just have to be there, you know, every now and then, just touching base. Hey, how's it all going? Can I help? What's going on? And it really builds that inspiration for the person who's under that leadership to be a leader within their own circle and lead those around them. I think it's a very inspiring thing. Leaders are a particular passion point of mine. It's something that I would like to be a better leader in everything that I do. But that's another whole story.
Yep.
And often, you know, people put me in the position of leadership within all manner of circumstances to kind of just pull things together. And to be honest with you, this show is an exact example of that. I'm leading by using the technology to stream this out, but at the same point, without, as I keep saying, without the people like yourself calling in and the other people commenting and actually making the show, it'd be boring as batshit. Which I don't want it to be.
Callers tonight. It's going well. It's no failure. You haven't had to do so much talking to yourself.
Unlike the other night. Oh, that was painful. But hey, it happened, and I pressed on, and we're here tonight. Did I just see some other comments come in? Nope. We're still talking about the amygdala on there. Well, Thomas, I think that's really interesting. I've found an article here which talks about the UK education system. Are starting to teach children with China's fabled, slightly brutal mastery method. I'll post that in the comments. That's an interesting read for offline, I can tell you. Excuse me, that's something I can tell you now. Jake Tracy, who's joined us on YouTube, thank you so much, sir. I can see you have joined in, and that's awesome because it's much better quality over there. And you can also comment as well over there. I monitor all of them. Any interesting failures, Thomas, that you've had that particularly resonate? No?
Oh, sorry, was that directly to me?
It was.
Oh, sorry, I did miss that. I was just quickly looking something up on my other phone and then was quickly turning the volume down because I was doubling the stream over.
I thought actually was someone else just joined in the stream. I'm like, okay, who am I going to prepare for next? Any interesting?
There you go again.
Any interesting ways that you've failed and interesting, I guess, consequences and results from that failure?
I've had a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
And what I really love about that is constantly learning.
Yep.
I know there's been parts in my life where I guess I've been somewhat demoralised in what I've been doing for a living.
Yeah.
And I always, I guess my work ethic is always based on learning. I studied education and learning, and the whole idea of it, and being aware of how I'm learning and developing is really important to me. And it's always stagnation that gets me. And if stagnation becomes compounded by failure, it gets me into a space where I really want to move. So I guess I can't really think of any amazing examples that I can give. I mean, it really is just sort of based in the mundane, becoming where I'm just not so inspired to learn from mistakes in the same environments where I guess maybe they come about as a matter of circumstance and things like that. But it's always been, I guess, one of those interviews things I've done a lot of. This is one, I guess. I had a job interview about a year ago, and I didn't get the job.
Okay.
And I thought I had absolutely nailed that interview. Thought it was the best one I'd ever given. Or is that the right word for it? Did I
Close
get the
enough.
interview? I was interviewed.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the job. And I realised that at the age of 30, that was the first time in my life that I hadn't been offered from a job from a job interview.
Wow.
And a lot of people get used to that much earlier in life.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Everyone I spoke to, talking to them about sort of how I felt about that, that's the first time it's ever happened to me. Everyone just kind of shrugs it off like, oh, yeah, that...
It is what it is, move on.
Times. I'm like, yeah, but not for me. It was just like, oh, wow. It really just stunned me for a while. It took me a couple of weeks to stop thinking about, like, is it something that I did wrong? And
yeah,
I guess I got over that by just looking for feedback, asking them, what could I have done better? Yep. Really, it was just the boring old answer of you couldn't have done any better. The other candidate was just better.
You couldn't have done any better. The other one was just better.
I don't know if that makes him feel better.
No, it makes you feel terrible. Actually, or it inspires you to go out and find this son of a bitch, which actually Sam has actually just thrown in a topic for next week, the satisfying acts of revenge, which I'm sure you plotted many during that particular phase.
Without naming any names, except for one of his names, his first name is the same as my name, and his last initial is the same as mine as well.
Ooh.
So I'm just like, has a mistake been made?
Are you sure it's not the other Thomas H?
It's the right Thomas H.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's the best. Well, hey, couldn't have gone to a better person. Well, no, it could have. It could have gone to you. Sorry. That was complete and utter fail. Oh, dear. Well, I think we're getting close to that time where I should really start signing off because it's 40 minutes of stream and people are bloody bored. I'm not bored.
I'm happy to leave you to that because I know you like to have a good talk to yourself, to us.
Beautiful.
At the end there, and I think it's a good time for me to drop off.
Thank you, Thomas. Pleasure to hear you as always on the show. I love all the things you bring to the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Adrian. Have a good one.
See you, man. Bye. Yeah, I think that's a good enough time for us to close that there. That has been a very interesting, very brief, and probably something I should edit down to a much shorter form conversation. Is that someone there? Nope. That's just me hearing things where I've changed the thing on the phone. Well, look, that has been an absolutely hilarious and wonderful insight into the art of failure. I mean, it's something I can talk about at great length for many times. We can have many parts to this particular series of the art of failure. But I can tell you for sure that as we continue to fail and as I continue to fail on this earth and on this show and for those of you around me, look, as long as we can fail the best way possible and land on our feet as much as possible, and who cares if we land flat on our face? You know, the whole point of failure is to learn from it. And as long as, we start to realize, and I hope in the workplace particularly, that as we fail to support that failure and to go, hey, it's cool. You failed. That's no problems. Let's have a look at what happened and let's move on from it. Let's just keep that momentum going, because the last thing you want to see in your workplace, in your life, in your relationships, in your personal life is, everything stopping at a particular point. We are inherently driven to grow and to better ourselves, even if it is only minute ways. We often get stuck in routine. I challenge you to challenge that and to go out and fail. Do something you've never done before. I've done a little bit of presenting on stage. I've done a little bit of presenting on camera, but this is a complete another challenge for me. This is the technical aspect versus the actual content itself. And even just, convincing Elle to let me do this once a week, that was the easiest part, but actually committing to do it is very difficult. And I think through failing through all the different things, we learn and we grow. And so just don't ever let failure stop you, acknowledge it. Don't be one of these people who fails and goes, oh, nothing happened, I'll just keep, acknowledge the failure happened, learn from it, move on, but don't let it bring you down. Anyway, that's enough bloody ranting and raving from me. Amy Cross got in there with one more thing, saying that failure equals learning. I think learning comes from failure, and I think that's a very, if we can do it positively, it'll be absolutely wonderful. Anyway, next week, maybe we talk about satisfying acts of revenge. I don't know. Please send your comments in to reactionsline@gmail.com. I'll put that number back up on the screen by pushing the right button. Reactionsline@gmail.com. You can call in for that voicemail for next week on that same number, 02-8002-1759. And I would implore you, please go over to the YouTube page and click on there and subscribe. And if I can get over 100 subscribers, then I can finally change the name of the channel, and I'll be a very, very, very happy camper, because that means that it'll finally start to take shape. I love your support. Thank you so much for joining me. And hopefully we see you next week on Reactions Line. Thanks so much. Ciao. Bye. Now, if you've never joined us before, I usually try and put a little bit of extra content piece at the end of all of these shows. If you've discovered it now, welcome. I would like to do a huge shout out to my now sister-in-law, Jana, for getting me this wonderful on-air sign some time ago, preceding actually doing Reactions Line. It is absolutely wonderful, and at some point I will mount it just outside here and hook it up so that it reacts with the whole thing. But again, thank you so much for joining. If you could go and subscribe to those things, it'd be wonderful. You don't have to do the Patreon. I just really want to make sure I get that name in the title. So look, thank you so much for all of your support. And thanks so much for joining me. Okay, see ya.